guys, welcome to episode 29 of my Warhammer 40k Conquest review series. Today we're reviewing issue 29. On account of that, that's how numbers work. Don't blame me, blame ancient Arabia and stuff like that. They invented numbers or something. First off, let's look at the plastic crack. It's reasonably exciting. This week we've got our captain with his big swanky cloak and his Gravis armour. Now, I personally already have one of these because I have the Dark Imperium set, so I'm thinking of converting this guy to be more of my own particular badass captain, although I did a bit of conversion on the captain I've already got, weirdly enough. Then we have got another aggressor with the assault bolters, and we have got here we have, you can see with his helmet on the side, we've got one of our sergeants, or possibly lieutenants, I think sergeants. No, you have sergeants because it's painted red on the cover. And then we have, and my brain is failing me here, the plasma guy. If I show you the front of the magazine, you can see that guy with a red helm sergeant, aggressor sergeant as well, according to that one. And there's our captain, and there's our hell blaster thing. I think that was right. And of course, bases. Ooh, bases. Who doesn't love bases? Something all about that base. So that's actually going to be a lot of fun to build, as we can see from the from the standard at this point. All the models are really good. You're probably going to need to look at the instructions in the back of the magazine to build them and to make sure you build them right. Sorry, but yeah, should be fantastic. If you were thinking of converting and making your own cool stuff, this is your captain. This is basically your kind of representative on the field of battle. So that's the guy you really want to be looking at converting to something special, because he's you. The main codexes don't have much room for conversion and that, but there are other books available. 2018's chapter approved, I believe, contains a lot of stuff. I believe, because I haven't had a chance to buy it because I've been skint. 2018 has not been a year overflowing with money. Plus, that's why this has been so good for me, because it allows me to collect a lot of stuff without investing much cash in it. But yeah, the chapter approved for 2018 has a lot of stuff for creating unique and special characters. So that should help you out a lot if you wanted to convert something new and unique. Alright, let's go to page 1. Once again, our spiritual liege Ian has signed the inside for us. You know, I kind of feel without his signature, it's not really Conquest, is it now? Usual bump. And first page, Space Marine captains. Here we've got a picture of our captain here in in his Mark 10 Gravis armor with a bit of a funny looking head. I mean, whatever it is, it's not really the head that you get. Now, I can see kind of is, just a bit odd from the side. Yeah, you got the head there. Doesn't quite look the same as the head you get there. All the elements are there. It's just, I guess, the angle or something makes it look a bit odd. But still, yeah, fantastic. Where this is the easy to build set, you are not getting a lot of spares. So, yeah, you're not given any options for unique heads and that, which is where a lot of the stuff for captains comes. But you got this bit on the top, which is a spiky bit, but I believe may represent his Iron Halo, or something of similar ilk. It goes basically through what captains are, what their battlefield role is, commander and melee combat. A lot of your special characters come stacked with plenty of attacks and special weapons that make those attacks worth doing. So a lot of your special characters are really where your assault lies, particularly because there isn't really an assault specialist for Primaris at the moment. They've got jump pack specialists, they've got close combat kind of shock and awe specialists in the Reavers, but no one whose job it is to basically get in there, kill, and then kill some more. That role's still fairly solidly in the hands of your mini Marines, or your standard Marines, however you want to call them. With their assault specialists and their terminators who can basically hold on a long time to fight. We've got a bit more on captains, the shoulder pads and the unique iconography that you get with captains, the arms and armor available and stuff like that. And then a lovely picture of a captain who looks like he has an awesome scimitar party, but in fact has been hacked in the head. We've then got some more cool bits. Here we've got a lot of what you may recognise if you're an older fan, but if you're not, a lot of this is what's called pre-heresy armour. It is the older, weirder types of armour, or in some cases it is the more unique types of armour available to people. Various different types of armour. In this one, it basically, for more than 10,000 years, Marines have been humanity's staunchest defenders. But it basically goes on about Space Marines in general. Oh, the Ultramarine 2nd Company fib. Oh, I love that fib. You've got a bit of a... I'll get to the fib in a minute. You've got a bit of stuff here and a bit of stuff here, telling you about the history and what happened. And here you have an Ultramarine 2nd Company. The reason it's sometimes known as the Ultramarine fib is it comes out of an older codex telling you exactly how many Marines are in a chapter, and you've got how many Marines in a company, and then it tells you how many Marines in a chapter, and it's supposed to be 1,000 Marines, but when you actually start counting all these Marines and working out things like the fact that Marines are driving vehicles and Marines are doing extra things, you realise this isn't actually the 2nd Company, this is just some of the 2nd Company. And the chapter thing isn't actually the chapter, it's just some of the chapter, or it's not, or if it does represent the chapter, it's way more than 1,000 Marines. For example, we've got a 2nd Company. The 2nd Company is engaged in constant combat during the Plague Wars. Oh, this actually looks unique, so it's not the fib, it's a new one. It gives you the command structure of a company, which is actually quite big. Some people may think, oh yeah, you get one leader, 2 lieutenants and stuff like that, but... The way a lot of it actually works is very, very different. This is a new one. This is completely, partially new. That's slightly weird. One thing I've just noticed here is the 2nd Company is made up of Primaris and Classic Marines. You can see here you've got a squad of Primaris Marines. You can tell by their knee pads is usually the easiest way. A Primaris Marine, I'll show you on the model. Yeah. If you look at a Primaris Marine there, they have a little rim on... Let me get that focus in better for you. A little rim on their knee pad there. Whereas standard Marines don't. And if you look at our lieutenant there, who... Can I get that to focus for you? No, I cannot. Brilliant. There is a rim on his knee pad, but these knee pads are rimless. No rimming for them. Whereas these guys, again, they've got rims on their knee pads. These guys have got rims on their knee pads. So you've got a Primaris lieutenant in the 2nd Company. You have a Primaris captain in this 2nd Company. 2 5-man squads of Primaris, and the rest of it is made up of standard Marines. But you can see here you've got the commanders, you've got 2 5-man squads, 10-man squad, 10-man squad, 10-man squad, 10-man squad. Now, one of the reasons this is often known as the Marine fib is because in the 2nd Company, it's almost certain that these guys have transports, and each transport has 2 Marines driving it, which are not included in the squad. The transport don't just stop when the squad goes out; they keep running around. So, they've forgotten their chauffeurs, who are also Marines. Well, it's worth knowing The guys driving around are Marines, the guys flying their ships are Marines, the guys flying their Thunderhawks are Marines. So whenever you look at these company things, it's worth remembering they're not the entire, they're often not the entirety of the company. And when a Space Marine chapter says it's got 1,000 Marines in it, what it usually means is it can field 1,000 feet on the ground, not including the people driving the vehicles, not including usually the dreadnoughts, not including whatever spares in the scout company overflow, not including the people flying the ships, the pilots and stuff like that. Which, if you've read any of the novels, are flown and driven and commanded all by Marines as well, because Marines are faster and react better and can process information more quickly and can form complex tactical plans with far more effectiveness than a standard human. So you're not gonna lose 10 Marines because one human couldn't move a wheel fast, couldn't do that fast enough to dodge out the way of a rocket. You put a Marine in there. So whenever you see these, remember they're a rough guide. They don't actually include the entire company. They're just there to give you a rough idea how it forms. But yeah, you've got a lot of cool stuff here anyway, and it's a nice example of a mixed company. Some of us don't do mixed companies. That's just because, for example, I really like the aesthetic of the Marines. I love the fact they look taller. I love the fact they look bigger. And when I put them against normal Marines and then compare normal Marines to, for example, Imperial Guard models, it kind of makes me realise that the normal Marines weren't big enough. One of the reasons that we get these Marines is because GW needed to make them bigger because they're supposed to be so much more hench. And at the same scale, it didn't quite make sense. I might actually do a separate video where I just blather on about why I think this is a good thing. And then people can complain and call me an a-hole. But yeah, you can see here, you've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 Marines. That's what's usually referred to as a battle company, which is, it's not an entire company. Half the Marines will be elsewhere, usually commanded by a lieutenant or under the auspice of a larger force. And this company is a self-contained mobile company that moves around. As I say, most companies consist of 100 Marines. Most chapters consist of 1,000 warriors, plus all their support staff, their drivers, etc., etc. But this is basically a half company with bunch of guys in it. We've got your Marine, we've got your Captain, we've got your Elder, we've got your Apothecary who basically takes care of everyone. This guy's probably a champion. You've got what looks like a sergeant or something. Where we go? There you go. Known as Lines of Cry. Additional leadership elements include 2 lieutenants, newly joined Primaris Marine, a newly joined Primaris Marine, which we can see there, and there are your 2 new lieutenants. A chaplain, which is this guy here. A company agent. I also attach the company's command. And then you'll have the captain. You may well have a champion, because a lot of guys have a champion, which is equivalent to a bodyguard, apothecary, and yeah, these 2 dudes. Which it doesn't say what they are, but it's not unusual for a command group to consist of up to 10 Marines. You've got to remember, one guy's making the plans, the other guy's collating information, the other guys are making sure new Marines are brought in to fill the ranks, other guys are dealing with various bits, the apothecary's making sure that the morale of the Marines is good. It takes an army to run an army, basically. And in addition to the Marines, you've probably got a couple of dozen humans, either just administrations and office staff, or you've got a lot of servitors who are basically, a lot of time, Marines who didn't make it through the training and whose bodies didn't hold up. They won't be wasted. Those brains will be kept. Bits will be used to run computers. Bits will be used to run bow servitors and loading servitors, which can, again, be used in combat by the tech Marine, if they have a tech Marine here, which it doesn't look like they do. And it's not unheard of for Marines to actually employ military humans, to employ not just not Imperial Guard, but their own personal guards, who are often just humans, who are basically the equivalent of security guards and rent-a-cops. They're there to guard the points that the Marines can't waste troops guarding. Like the shed that keeps the keys for the rhinos and stuff like that. You'll have a couple of people watching, you'll have a couple of people there, and whilst Marines will guard the whole thing, and Marines will guard any key points, there's usually so many bits and pieces that you need to have humans anyway. It's well known that in the Fang there's basically an Imperial Guard company's worth of highly trained, highly equipped humans. There are the people that didn't make the selection process, or were proved incompatible in the selection process, so didn't become Marines, or they're sometimes the children of those people, and they do all the menial jobs, like polishing a Marine's boots and cleaning a Marine's armour, making sure it's rust free. This will be done by a human servitor or a human servant, fetching paperwork and bringing things to and forth. And all these guys won't just be random people attached to the Marines, because the Marines have to work effectively and efficiently, so they need to know their servants, and their servants need to know them, and or their employees, or their whatever. So you'll probably have as many, if not more, just random humans working with the Marines, or acting as low-level guards for when the Marines need them and things like that as well. So here we go, and here we have the Guardians of the Temple. And here's the rest of the chapter, actually. Check the rest of the company. There's me thinking there's only 50 Marines as a battle company. I was wrong. I turn to the next page. This is the joy of me discovering this with you rather than reading it ahead. I get to discover the joy of it with you. We've got assault company there. We've got a heavy weapons assault company. Assault squad there. We've got a heavy weapons squad there, which consists of 5 heavy weapons guys and 5 normal guys. A Devastator squad. This is why I like long fangs in Space Wars, because there's less wastage. You've got, with this, you've got 5 guys that'll often be out of range, and 5 guys that won't often want to move. And yes, what you tend to do is split them into 2 5-man squads, but I tend to prefer long fangs, because you just get the 6 men in the squad, and there's one dude that does something other than shoot heavy weapons, but the rest are just continually blasting. You've got a squad of aggressors there, a squad of hellblasters, intercessors, and another squad, the 12th squad, which is another assault squad. Another assault squad. As I was saying, the Primaris at the moment don't have dedicated heavy weapons squads. We've seen some new heavy weapons come out in Shadow Spear. I'm a bit interested in them. Well, actually, I'm very interested in them. I'm just a bit weirded out by the jump packs, which aren't really jump packs. They're like just normal packs with an extra little couple of bulb things. Whatever the bits are on the shoulders. They've got a couple of these extra bits and grav shoot fins just stuck on the back. And you're like, well, why have we been using these huge packs? And even with the aggressors, these huge orbital jump packs, when all you needed was a couple of grav plates. I mean, yes, that's the advance of technology, but also it doesn't look as cool. It's like when they gave Peter Capaldi sonic sunglasses on Doctor Who. It's like, they're not sonic sunglasses, they're you being lazy. They're just a pair of sunglasses. They're sonic, really. You kind of feel like, if you're not going to put a big jump pack on to make it look awesome, what even is the point of him flying? And you've got two dreadnoughts there, so let's give and dreadnoughts are awesome. You've got they're both old school dreadnoughts. Neither of them are actually Primaris dreadnoughts. One is a Siegebreaker dreadnought, which is amazing, but let's have a look. And just so you know, you won't be able to build this chapter with what you're getting in the magazines. That's actually going to be very different. You'd have to buy some separate bits and pieces, but still cool. So what we got? Let's do a quick number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 59. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, so 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104. There you go, 104 Marines in a chapter, if you include the Dreadnoughts as Marines, which I kind of think you should. They're more Marine, if anything, they're almost more Marine than any other Marine. And if you count, let's go 2, 4, so 104, 106, 108, 110, 112, 114, 116, 100, no you can't, yeah maybe 116, 118, 120, 122, 124, 126, 128. If you assume every one of those that need units that needs a transport has a transport, that's 128 Marines in a chapter, just based on the numbers they've shown us here and the bits and pieces. That's why they kind of call these the Marine fib, because it's like, look at all these Marines. It's a chapter of 100. It's like a bit more than 100. But you can see that all this stuff is a rough guide. Even with Ultramarines, who are a Codex adherent chapter, there are obvious supernumeraries and obvious extra bits. So, you know, if your guys aren't exactly 100 Marines, don't worry about it. No one cares. Even GW, not that fast. We've got a nice story here. Champions collide. I'm going to guess that it's Ultramarines versus Nurgle, which has been the main theme of this thing so far. Haven't read it yet, but again, you've got GW does a lot of different types of artwork, but which can be a little confusing when you compare them side to side. I mean, you've got this artwork here that's impressionistic, but all the artwork is just really good. You've got a lot of broad strokes and a lot of rough bits and pieces here, whereas other GW artwork is incredibly hyper detailed. But it's all inspirational and cool and awesome. Next, a brief description of Plague Bearers. Plague Bearers, otherwise known as the Tallymen of Nurgle, otherwise known as Nurgle's civil service, are basically that. Their job is to keep a track of every disease in the galaxy, how many people it's infected, what it's like, what the symptoms are, what the symptoms can change into, who it's killed, things like that. It is the most boring, depressing job in the universe, which is totally in line with Nurgle. He's very much about being sick, about that constant downer and things like that. He himself can be quite happy and gleeful. He loves his diseases, but a lot of what he is about illness and stuff like that. It's worth noting that Nurgle's sort of signature disease is a disease called Nurgle's rot, and I don't know if it runs through it in here, but anyone who catches Nurgle's rot will eventually turn into a Plague Bearer. It's kind of a weird path to immortality. I don't know if you retain any of your knowledge or what, but also they're one of the few sort of like demon paths that you don't want, because it's a path to immortality as an eternal civil servant. And, you know, whilst actual civil service, from what I understand, is quite interesting, this is literally the worst kind of civil service. You're just sat there counting things all day long, which, from what I understand from some of my friends who are civil servants, isn't that far away from some civil service. You know, as one of my uncles used to work for the tax office, but, you know, the way the civil service tells you how many cows there are is by counting the legs and divided by 4. But they're a depressing sort of look on civil service. You know, they're basically they are accountants. They are very much again, no insult to any civil servants or any accountants there. They're a view of grey jobs that are relentless and never ending. You know, the kind of thing that it seems like you're just doing the same thing again and again and again for all eternity, and that's what they're meant to be. Somebody in the 80s had that view of how accountants and the civil service and tax officers and things like that worked. I guess. A lot of this stuff comes from the 80s, and there's some weird points of view in here that you think, why? And then you realise, oh yeah, the 80s. But they are also the rank and file troops of Nurgle. They're quite big, they're quite strong, they're exceptionally tough, because if you look at them, they're falling apart and breaking apart anyway. What are you going to do to them that isn't already happening? There's a little spider just crawling out that guy's stomach. That's just so cool. I was going to say, there's just so, you know, some of these things are so detailed. Here we go, Plague Bearers and Death Guard. The Prince of Plague Bearers on the battlefield is seen by the Death Guard as a great blessing from Nurgle. Despite their respect for demons, they are often used to wear down the enemies, bearing the brunt of the fighting. Yeah. Because they're rotting, dying creatures anyway, and they don't ever die, they're just continually... they're just continually rotting away and dying, but they never actually die. But because of that, and because everyone that catches Nurgle rot, which is what happens to people if you're exposed to these guys, or exposed to Nurgle demons, or even a lot of time the Death Guard, becomes a Plague Bearer. Nurgle has like a never-ending, continuous supply of Plague Bearers to throw at people. So even if you actually kill them and actually wipe them out to the point they don't just return to the warp, there are plenty more rotting, fetid humans where that comes from. Yep, so that's really cool. Then we're moving on to the Space Marine officers. We've got the instructions on how to build them. So we've got an Intercessor Sergeant. It's a Hellblaster Sergeant. That's what we're getting. We're getting the Command Squad. Weirdly enough, the Intercessor Sergeant has his helmet strapped to his thigh. But if we look at the Hellblaster one, he's just not wearing his helmet. He's just like, yeah, this plasma gun's going to blow up in my face whether I like it or not. A helmet's going to do bugger all good, I suspect. So if this blows up, a helmet is going to be as much good as a screen door on a submarine. And I mean swing door. A swing door on a submarine. I'm trying to think where I heard that. That's a misquote of a comedy where it's a misquote. Or rather, that's a quote of a comedy where it's a misquote. Then you've got your Space Marine Sergeant and your Interceptor Sergeant. The reason you can tell he's an Interceptor Sergeant is there's a little skull on the middle of his head. And obviously the Interceptors can't not wear their masks because they're coming out from orbital drops. I have done a couple of my guys because they're based on Shadow Walls, which are a chapter, actually Imperial Fist, but use a lot of the Space Wolf iconography. I've used one of the Space Wolf heads inside the unit. I assume he's taken his helmet off and flown in somewhere, but yeah, the idea is that they're all wearing helmets because they're coming up from high atmosphere, and even Space Marines need some breathing on some occasion. Although actually, I suppose technically they don't for an hour or so, apparently. Then we've got the beautiful How to Paint. It's running through a lot of How to Paint stuff. A lot of this is going to build up on what you've done previously, so you may want to go back and look at the other Marines, look at the basics. But it's running how to do the cloak and how to do some of the sigils. Obviously, your use of non-oil and Agrax Earthshade again. And this is what you guys should look at. You notice the sergeants all have red helms, and there's actually an interesting bit of history about that. It used to be, you used to get red helms when you didn't do what you were told, when you went above and, well, not even above and beyond. When you went kind of off script, it was a punishment. But during the Betrayal at Calth, which is a heresy novel, and B, the name for when the word bearers and their allies basically cock-blocked the Ultramarines and betrayed them. Because the word bearers knew the tactics of the Ultramarines really well, they needed sergeants that would do things like think outside the box, and they needed to readily identify sergeants. So Rowboat himself put the red helmets in charge. Said, right, you're following those guys because they're, a red helmet was essential for going outside tactical doctrine, which he was trying to write in pretty much a perfect book. It's one of the reasons why the Codex is considered a perfect book, because that's what he meant it to be when he wrote it. And a lot of the first half of the Codex, the actual Codex that he wrote, was like, this is the best way and this is the bad way, and then the best way, and then the second half it is, ignore what I wrote in the first half. Here are all strategies, but you need to wing it yourself. So the red helmet is now a symbol amongst the Ultramarines of somebody who's considered intelligent enough to ignore the codex. You know, this person is considered intelligent enough, wise enough, and tactically minded enough to know when to follow the codex and to know when to ignore the codex. And that's why they've been made a sergeant. So you listen to them regardless. And here we've got a picture of the sergeant's backside, because, you know, who doesn't love a beautiful booty? Archeron arrives. Acheron? Captain Acheron arrives. A little bit about the new captain. They've given him a name, but feel free to ignore that name and give him your own name. He's your captain after all. Nice tactical bit, which is mostly about killing your captain. Here you have the stats for your captain. This is obviously, again, as I said, this is the stats for the captain as he's built off this sprue. If you want to specialise the captain, you totally can. And there are GW books available for that allow you to do a lot of basic things. If you're just swapping weapons out, a lot of the time you can just go, you know, a force axe, it counts as a force sword for the purposes of your game. But a lot of guys do prefer WYSIWYG, so it's usually a good idea to figure out what exactly you can use on your guys. If you're just using this, stick to what's there. If you've got a codex or you're planning to buy the chapter approved that allows you to specialise him, then you can change him so he is what he appears to be. WYSIWYG is very much a thing. WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. And the idea being that if you can see a guy with a specific weapon, he's armed with that specific weapon because it saves confusion. It is a rule in GW. Most people are prepared to ignore it under reasonable circumstances, but one of the reasons it was brought in was because people would have a guy with a power fist and a head, a bare head and a sword, which looked like a sergeant. But then underneath their base, and this I saw a couple of times, they'd write Marine, and then underneath the base of another random guy, they'd write Sergeant. So you'd kill the guy. Oh no, that guy's my sergeant. I always use that guy as my sergeant, and this literally happened in games that I watched when I was younger. So GW basically went, no. If he looks, if he's got all the equipment, that's what he's got. If you can't give it to a standard Marine, you can't have it on that model. People just go, oh, I haven't got a Marine with this, so I'm going to put that on. It was okay, but in small battles, people just go, oh no, actually he's got this, and then 5 minutes later, oh no, he's actually got that on him. So it saved that form of cheating. And in large battles, it just was too confusing to keep track of every slight difference that person had. Even if they gave you an army list, you'd be like, that captain with the sword actually has power. Oh no, that's that captain over there. So WYSIWYG is a cool thing there. So it's a good idea to have your guy built as you intend to play him. Swap them around. You can do that with a lot, and even with the easy build kits, it's not that difficult to actually remove the sword, put a pin in it, which is basically a small bit of metal, so the paper clip, you drill it in, you put a pin in it, and then you get an axe from another model, you put a pin in that, and then you can just slot them in for one barrel and then take it out and slot another one in for the next barrel to change it around. Or if you're using normal models, non-single pose models, because these are single pose models, and single pose models are a great thing. GW has always done single pose models. It moved to a lot of modular models to give people freedom, but that meant that there was a concurrent cost because you're paying for all the plastic you weren't using. So it started doing single models and double model kits to allow for people like me to afford to play, and to allow for people who want loads of options to afford that. But with the multi-part kits, a common thing is to buy magnets. You put a magnet, you put a magnet in the shoulder joint there. You've got this guy. You put a magnet in the shoulder joint there, and then a magnet in the arm that goes on it, and it will hold it for the battle. The neodymium magnets are actually very strong. And then for the next battle, if you wanted to change him, because you've got loads of spares in your bits, because you've got loads of spares when you buy the multi-part kits, you can then take one of the arms off and take one of the arms that you didn't use initially, and then put that on and make him multi-part and make him adaptable. Little bit of an expense for all your guys, but quite a few people tend to do it for their leaders, their chiefs, or some of their specialist units, like their heavy weapons. They'll have one heavy weapons unit with one loadout, and then they'll magnetize the arms so they can take off an anti-personnel loadout, and then set them up for an anti-tank loadout with las cannons instead of auto cannons and things like that. Right, getting to the back page. Oh, not bad. That's not bad at all. Oh, you may notice I haven't gone through price on this. That's because price is quite difficult. This is pretty much what you get in the Dark Imperium box set, but the individual guys are between 18 and 25 quid for people like your Primaris Lieutenants, depending on which one you get. So you're potentially getting 18 quid worth of stuff there, and the other guys don't tend to come separately. You know, sergeants tend to come with squads. So it's pretty hard to price this particular one, but it's probably worth saying. It's probably at least sort of 20 to 25 quid's worth of plastic, in that you're getting a model from this box. That's, you know, I mean, if it's £25, I'm actually just going to pause quickly and look it up. I am back. Yeah, if you look at it, you've got a £35 set. So without the sergeant being anything special, you're looking at £3.50 for each sergeant. Sorry, for your basic sergeants, because you've got like an intercessor sergeant and a hellblaster sergeant. Both boxes are 35. You've got, what have we got? Where are we? One of three. Ooh, Deathwatch Primaris Intercessors. That's pretty. Every now and then you find something. Oh, I didn't know that was there. Where are we? And then you got £30 for a box set of aggressors. So technically one aggressor's worth a tenner. So you're talking £6.50. No, £7. That's £17. And then, do we have a lieutenant model? Primaris Captain, sorry. You've got Primaris Captain at £22.50, a Primaris Librarian at £22.50, a Dark Angel Lieutenant at £15, and £15. So if we're sort of saying this guy's slightly cheaper than £22.50, you're talking £10 for an aggressor, so that's £20. £10 for aggressor, so that's £17.50, and another 20. So you're talking £37. Sorry, £17.50, yeah. 38, 39.50 maybe. It might not really be quite that much, because again, you could look at it the other way and go, well, how many sprues? You can shut up. Sorry, my tablet. You can sort of look at the other way and go, how many sprues do you get in Dark Vengeance? How much does Dark Vengeance cost? And then divide it up and look at it that way. But potentially nearly £40 worth of plastic in that sprue. So that's, again, another one. This one is another great money saver compared to where you'd have to buy it yourself. But again, you can see I'm actually looking at the non-ETB ones, because that's what it's showing me. When you look at the ETB ones, it is slightly different, because a lot of the stuff you're getting from the ETB sets here, you're just getting a lot of them. Do we have? Sorry, if in case you're wondering, ETB means easy to build. Yeah, here you've got £10 for a sergeant for 3 models. So again, that sergeant's about £3. £3.33 in that one, so slightly cheaper, but not that much. Yeah, so it depends really how you want to work it out. It is a bit harder to specifically judge. I mean, Dark Imperium has about a half a dozen, so yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Space Marine sprues, and about the same, maybe a little more for yeah, so let's say 10 for the Death Guard, so let's say 10 sprues in total. So if you're looking at, say, for example, Dark Imperium, this could be as little as £5 worth of sprue, because you're getting like 10 sprues worth of models, because you get a ton of models in Dark Imperium, and a massive great book, and a load of other, and the dice and other bits and pieces. Yeah, you can get anything from £5 to £10 to £40 saving, depending on how you actually want to work it out. Certainly, if you wanted to get Dark Imperium, which has a lot of the stuff you're getting in here, you'd have to pay £95. So this is a easier, much more manageable way of getting it. It's just kind of, because of that, it's a lot harder to actually price. If you're looking at the individual sprues, again, you're then saving a lot more compared to the individual sprues. So you could, in theory, be saving just short of £40 on those models, which, yeah, is all worth thinking about. You know, dividing as to how exactly you do it and how exactly, you know, you'd have to do it if you wanted specific things. I mean, now how you could go about doing it. Little point of order: if you want to buy Dark Imperium, find someone that wants to buy the other half. Saves you so much money. And most people are willing to share books, and in most of your, again, friendly little gaming stores, you'll get guys who want a Death Guard army who already have the rulebook and are more than willing to split something like Dark Imperium with you. Or if you're a Death Guard fan, guys that want the Primaris army and already have the rulebook and are willing to split it with you. Okay, on to the traditional end of the video, the what's coming up next. So next week we've got some beautiful scenery coming in. Kind of looking very Mechanicum-like in its scenery, or as well as fairly generic Imperium. It doesn't have any of the Aquilers on it. It's a much more industrial. That's why I'm sort of thinking Mechanicum-like. At the same time, I can't see a ton of skulls on it, so maybe not. And then, oh, not bad. We've got refill on the Death Guard, which if you're collecting Death Guard, you probably need by now. Another layer brush, which if you've been using the layer brush, again, you probably need a new one by now. And then a new colour of Celestial Grey, which is actually a surprisingly useful colour. You wouldn't think grey is a useful colour for a lot of things, but for dry brushing and highlighting, it's actually quite good. If you're not looking to get quite as bright a colour and to keep things gritty, mixing greys in with your blue, you know, lighter greys in with your blues instead of whites can help you maintain that kind of toned down, crappy feel that the 41st millennium kind of brings to you. Okay, crikey, I've been blathering for 42 minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and last but not least, the competition to win the coveted giant green rhino. Number two is, let's roll down. Spec'd with an exclamation mark. Well, spec'd with an exclamation mark. I will PM you later in the comments, and there will be a rhino coming your way. So I hope you enjoy that. Have a nice day, guys, and see you next time. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Not sure why, but I am. So if you like it, see me there, and please tell your friends. Thanks very much. Bye.